Well, welcome. Welcome to my channel, Cooking and Commentary. Hope you're having a great day, and I appreciate you being here. Today we're going to be making spaghetti and talking about Zoran Mamdani, rents, and life as now as compared to what it was in the past. Um, so Mamdani is an interesting guy. He's quite personable. I think a lot of his ideas aren't practical. And boy, that meeting with Trump was sure weird. Um, but both of them seem to get along with other people pretty well. So maybe even though they are coming at a problem from completely different angles, it shouldn't be surprising they get along. Um, but we'll see what happens. What came to me right away was that if rents are too high in New York, you just need to build more apartments. And I did a little research into that, and most of the AI engines told me it's because of regulations on building houses, and rent control actually is a problem for the people that aren't under the rent control, and a lot of the NIMBY, not in my backyard. So nobody wants these things built in their borough, which will alleviate some of the rental problem and supply and demand. You put more supply out there, and the price will go down. So that was my first thoughts, and I feel like I'm pretty correct about that. Now, of course, Donnie wants to do it a different way. He wants to use the government to lower it. But we'll see how that works for him, or if maybe he cooks up something different with Trump. Speaking of cooking, we're going to be making spaghetti, and it's going to be spaghetti a little different way. Maybe I like not that thick red sauce. I like the sauce, but I think there's too much of it. So I like to include a lot of olive oil in mine and less sauce. So we'll see whether you like it and I may be a little shy on the olive oil today, and this may not come out quite correct. But anyway, we'll give it a whirl. So let's get over and get that started. Hamburger that I have browned off, and I have degreased, and I've also thrown a few capers in there. So I've done that already. And now, for the spaghetti, we are going to put in a small jar, 14 ounce of ragu, old world traditional sauce. And most people would probably use more than this. So this is the key to my spaghetti. I'm going to rinse this out a teeny bit with some water. And put that in there too. Get rid of that. Let's turn the heat up a teeny bit on this thing and get it going. So we're going to combine that. So the difference is I like to put a lot of olive oil in there. I think that the traditional way of plopping the spaghetti on the plate and then putting the red sauce on top of it can be a little bit too much acidity, at least for me. And I've found that olive oil replaces some of the tomato sauce, and it makes the acidity just right. And the olive oil is yummy. It's good for you, and it makes it a wonderful dish. Plus, I always like leftover spaghetti. And of course, leftover spaghetti for me always means that everything's combined when you go in there and get in the fridge. Now I've found the pasta, and it's ready to go in. It says 6 to 7 minutes. I'm going to try to do 6. Now this is the already pre-broken in half pasta. Some people would prefer the other, but I find this a lot easier to work with. And I may not have enough water in there for the entire box. I usually don't do an entire box, but today I'm doing the entire box. I hope it fits in my pan. If not, I might have to leave a little bit out. Okay, and let's stir it good so that it doesn't stick. Let's see if we can't bring that back to a boil. Looks like we have. I gotta try to not to let it boil over. So it says to cook it 6 to 7 minutes. I'm gonna do 6. And then I'm gonna finish it in the pan with the spaghetti sauce. So I wish I had extra oil or more oil. Unfortunately, I find myself quite low on olive oil. Not a good time to be in that situation. So I'm going to put in there what I have. And hopefully that will do. I'm also going to put some basil in there. I like basil. And I've got some and my pasta almost boiled over, but not quite. Stir it again. Don't want it to be all stuck together. Put the hat on loosely this time and turn the heat down a little bit. So, how's our garlic doing? Alright, looks like it might be ready to peel now. Alright. So, of course, the pasta sauce already has garlic in it, comes with it, but I'm going to put a little extra. I'm hoping I don't cut myself here because it's actually a little hard to see because of the phone. So maybe I won't mince it up quite as much as I'd like to. Could have some large chunks of garlic. Alright, I think this is going to have to do for today. If I could see better, I'd cut it up more. All right. So now, put that in there. And we want the olive oil to try to incorporate with the spaghetti sauce. Though it does have a tendency to go out toward the sides. And we're getting close. Got another minute and that pasta will be done. And we'll put it in here. We'll cook it up for another minute. top back on the basil. And let's take a look at that over here. So, historically, people have produced just enough in their labor to be able to have one person to feed one person, keep a roof over their head, and keep clothes on their back. I got some graphs I'm going to show you. Now, today in 2023, the average person in the world produces enough to keep one American lifestyle. So if everybody had equal resources, everybody would be able to live like an American, which would be cool. And that's also equal to 20 to 23 people living in AD 1. But to be living like an American would want to live, like I think a lot of people would want to live, it's only one person that each person in the world can support. So, there's the pasta down there. Got that dished up. And we'll put it in with the spaghetti. Get the spoon over to one side. Drain a little water out of it, but getting it all out isn't all that important because it's going to be heated up in the spaghetti. All right. So, as you can see, we have barely fit. We have barely fit. And it's a good thing I'm going to be eating some of this, because if I didn't, I don't know how I can get the top on it to put it in the fridge. But I've got about 5 meals here, I believe. It says the pasta feeds 4. But those are some big people, and maybe that doesn't, they don't assume that you're going to be, they can't assume that you're going to add anything to it. So maybe that's why they say it feeds 4. Because just the pasta itself would. I don't know. But I've always gotten more than 4 servings out of a box of pasta. So, the idea is to just sort of coat everything. And also, I'm somebody who loves Parmesan cheese, so I will end up putting a lot of Parmesan cheese on this. It's almost like macaroni and cheese with some red sauce and meat. So there we go. This is basically my take on traditional spaghetti, which is really yummy. All right, so let's dish some of this up. And I will come back now that there's a little more room and stir that up a little better after I've eaten. So there we have it. Okay, as a finisher on that, I think I used a little too much pasta for the sauce that I used, especially given the fact that I ran out of olive oil. So you could even use maybe half a box of the spaghetti pasta, and you'd come out okay, and it would still be a little different than you're probably used to as far as the olive oil and sauce to pasta ratio goes. Yeah, so getting back to rents, you know, I live in a rural area. That's hard for me to say. I live in a rural area because when the interest rates were low, I knew if I was going to have an opportunity to ever own a home again, I had to do it then. And so I looked around and I actually found what I think is the cheapest place to live in the country. And and I was able to buy a home with 4 acres, and I could only do that with that low interest rate. And so now I really love food. I love ethnic food. Where I live, there's none of that. There's not a drive-through restaurant in the entire county. There's no fast food, no McDonald's, no Burger King, none of that stuff. There's a Pizza Hut, a Subway, and a good Mexican restaurant. There is a Mexican restaurant, thank goodness for that. But I'd love to live in New York. I'd love to eat all that wonderful ethnic food. I love German and Thai and Vietnamese and Indian and French and Spanish and you name it. I love it. But I can't afford to live in New York City. And it sort of frustrates me when I hear people who are newly employed or unemployed or more lowly employed, that they want to live in New York and that the rent's too high. Well, the rent's too high because a lot of people want to live there because there's a lot of great features. So you might have to make a decision to live somewhere else. You know, as I was saying earlier while we were cooking, I mean, historically life has been pretty brutish. We're pretty lucky how we live today, and it still is for some people around the world. So, you know, it used to be that people could only produce just as much as they needed to live on. There was no excess. And today we've gotten to a place where there is a little bit of excess. So we can share that with our, those who are less fortunate than us. And that's great. But in many ways, I mean, as far as labor to produce stuff, to grow products, to cut trees, we're not that far removed from the fulcrum and the block and tackle and the wheel and those sort of things. I mean, computers make our lives a lot easier to do things. And certainly, I mean, you can plow a field with a tractor, where it used to take the labor of many people, but you still have to have somebody to service the tractor. Got somebody who builds tractors. You got to have people working in the oil and gas industry so the tractor will run. So there's still a lot of people needed just to support these industrialization. So certainly things have improved. I thought I would go on AI and check out some stuff, and I love AI, by the way, and ask if it could come up with some tables for me, some graphs about how much a person used to be able to produce historically compared to what they're able to produce now, and came up with some graphs. And first, I told it from AD1 to present, and it came up with a graph showing how many people you could clothe, give clothing, shelter, and food to, and per person's production. And back in the Roman period, people produced 1 unit, basically. And it dropped at times below 1 unit. People were dying off, like during the plague and things like that. People weren't able, the average person wasn't able to produce what the average person is required to live. But anyway, these figures I got out of it, I found were based on people living in AD1. So it came back and said the average worker in the world today could support 20 people. And then I came to find out it's 20 people living in a daub and wattle and daub house with woolen woolen clothing and rudimentary food. So I asked, well, what about supporting someone who wants to live an American lifestyle, American type house and clothing and food? And it came out to about one, just over one, 1.1, something like that. Now, if you're now in America, we do more than that. We can do like two and a half. So we can do ourselves and another person, maybe another half. But of course, that doesn't include all the extras of an American lifestyle that we want outside of clothing, food, and housing. And so I'm sure if you added that in, you might be down around two or under two. My point is, everybody's got to pull their weight. Sure, we have extra that we can take care of some people, that we can do some welfare, but if you're able-bodied or able-minded, you need to work to produce your one unit, of work. So, I mean, I went to college. I got a BA in something that I didn't end up using it for. I had meant to go to a school after school, but I ended up not. And so it's important what you pick. If you're going to college, you need to pick a major that's going to make some money for you. Majoring in like gender studies might be of interest to you, but is it going to pay the bills? Are you going to pull the weight for the rest of society doing that? I don't think so. Today I think and I wish maybe I would have taken this path. Looking back, you should learn a trade, something that's going to make you some money, and then if you can, purchase a home. Save up, purchase a home, live somewhere that's affordable, and then you can go out and get an education in whatever you are interested in or whatever you think might make you more money. Maybe it's an avocation, something you just love, and then if it doesn't pan out as a moneymaker for you, you still have your first education in in a professional trade. So that way you still can go after your dreams, but you're going to be able to pay the bills and have a place to live. I understand interest rates might be going to come down next year. I'm really hoping. I need them too. I wish somebody had told me to learn something practical, and because right now I'm struggling with keeping my mortgage up, even though it's extremely low. My mortgage is very low. So anyway, that's my 2 cents on that. I hope you enjoyed the spaghetti, and have a great day, and good luck out there in the work field and in the rent field too.